I'm no perfect teacher. I'm not. I want to say to you today that when I'm teaching or I'm going over the Torah, I want you to know that I don't exalt myself above any of you. I'm just like you. I have things that I deal with on a daily basis. I have challenges in my life. I have people in my life. I have a life. I have a journey. I have a way of living, and it's no different than anyone. I'm happy and I'm excited about being your brother. That's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about being someone that Yah has shown mercy to say, look, I want you to teach my people. Teach my people. I said when I came to this truth, I would never teach again because I was teaching things that were wrong and were incorrect, and I felt like a fool, and I felt like I shouldn't be able to declare the name of the Creator. And he assured me that the people that I was teaching were not his people. And the people that in the words that I was saying were not his words. And the Elohim that I thought that I was serving was not him. And that's the discovery that I think we've all have come to understand. The God of the New Testament is not the Elohim of what we would call the sacred scrolls of the Torah. It's not mentioned at all in the prophets about any other God on the face of this earth. And we need to remember that, and we need to understand that. Everything that we've learned up to this point in our lives of coming to know him has been a complete, utter lie, okay? And it's been nothing but his mercy and his grace that has brought us back to him for us to understand and to know his Torah, his instructions. So I just wanted to make you guys understand that I don't want to waste your time. You know, I hear a lot of teachers out here giving people a lot of advice and talking and just talking and talking. And they're coming from their own mind. They're not coming from the perspective of the Torah. They might put a little bit of the Torah in there. They just add just a little sprinkle of it in there to justify what they're saying in order to try to validate what they're saying. But that's not the truth. The truth of the matter is that the only words that you and I should be interested in hearing is the words of our Elohim. But that being said, I want to share with you today about our Torah portion called Vayelek. Let me see here. And feel free, as I've stated, if you want to make a contribution, a remark, then you can. I also want you to have a pen and paper and write down some of these texts that we're going to be going over today. As I told you earlier this week, our Torah portion had dealt with walking. It dealt with lak. Vayelek means and he went, or he walked, and he went to tell, and we're talking about Moshe. This is the conclusion of Moshe's life. This is the conclusion of his ministry. You know, and I don't really like using that word because it really wasn't ministry. What it was his service towards the Most High, his duty and his responsibility. Let's call it that. Let's get rid of these religious terms, ministry. It was his walk. It was his way of life. And he understood that. And he knew that, you know, it's time for me to end it. So therefore I have to pass on this mantle, and I have to pass on this responsibility to someone who has been counted in the Most High's eyes as being worthy to receive it. You and I sometimes don't think that we're worthy enough to receive things, but the fact of the matter is that you are worthy. You are worthy. And what makes us worthy is being Yahweh's children. We're worthy of his words. We just rejected them. We've hated him and we've despised him. And when I say we, I'm talking about our nation. Remember, it can't just be about us individually all the time. There's certain times when it is about just us, like in Deuteronomy 30, the word you was mentioned 82 times, singular, dealing with you as an individual. Well, remember, you as an individual, you're going to be part of a group. So we have to get ourselves together before we want to be part of a group. Okay. Because if we bring something to the group that's not healthy for it, will cause problems in the group. Okay. I told you this week that I would discuss with you this festival of Sukkot. And I also told you that I wanted to discuss this idea of Yah's face and how he has turned his face away from us. But today we're going to begin talking about Sukkot and what Sukkot actually means. Okay. Within the Sukkot Moedim, what we have here is this idea of the Torah, the Mishpatim, and the Kukim. Class participation. By definition, what does the Torah mean?
Instruction.
Thank you. The Torah means instructions. What about the Mishpatim?
Judgments.
Thank you. Thank you. So the Torah is instructions. Okay. The Mishpatim are judgments. Okay. Or what they would say, rulings. It's how Yah says, I have rulings that I'm going to make. Okay. What's the Kukim? Kukim are the decrees. Okay, they're royal decrees, they're heavenly decrees, they're majestic decrees, and statutes, which they would then call ordinances, okay, or appointed times, okay. What are Moedim?
They're also appointed times.
They're appointed times. They're appointed, okay. So appointed times, but also too, it has a variety of different meanings. It can mean seasons. It can mean, appointment. It means to do something over again. Okay. If you notice, what we have on the end of each of these words is this suffix. They call it a sufformative. It means im, and im is known by a yod and a mem. Okay. That's what that I and that m means. Okay. And it's a plural. So it means that it's more than one, okay? The Torah is, I don't know if you know this, but the Torah is feminine, okay? It's feminine in its perspective. It ends in ah, okay? So literally, Yah has femininity in a lot of things, and he has masculinity, okay? The Torah is feminine. Somebody tell me from what your understanding is, why would you think the Torah is feminine? The Torah speaks and it gives instructions. What else is feminine that this Torah would be speaking to?
Nefesh.
It is your nefesh. Your nefesh is feminine. You understand? So now we can understand that the instructions are feminine, right? It's like a mother talking to a child, all right? And so the Creator has designated the Torah as femininity, to talk to something that's feminine, which is your soul. You understand? This is why the Torah is so important. It's getting the instructions. It's like a mother. You understand? So within the Sukkot, what you're going to find is the Torah. It's the instructions. He tells us how to do the instructions. Okay. The Mishpatim, the Kukim, and the Moedim are all part of it. It's a Moedim, it's a Kukim, it's a decree, okay? And we understand from Kukim, right? So the rulings are like, okay, when you do this, you need to do it, this way, and this is what I set. This is the judgment on that. This is what I want. The Kukim here, these two letters, which is a ket and a kof, okay, which we get our word coke from, and we know coke, it means what? Coke is an ordinance, okay, or Kog, which is a festival. This has to do with the wall, and this has to do with gathering. And so we know that the wall means that which is on the outside is gathered together. So bringing that which is on the outside, bringing it together, to gather it together, okay? to bring things together. That's what a kok is. So Yah's decrees bring us together. Yah's moedims bring us together. Yah's mishpatim brings us together, because this is what governs our life. So when we talk about any moedim or any kukim or mishpatim, you are talking about the Torah as well. All this is connected. What you don't want to do is you don't want to separate these things. What you need to understand is the body of teaching. That's what it is. It's not just the Torah, because you need the mishpatim in order for the Torah to work. The Torah is the instructions on what to do in the judgment. The judgments are part of the kukim. Okay, the decrees and the statutes, and those tell you, well, here's the appointed times. They all work together. So let's don't get caught up in just saying, oh, well, it's just the Torah. It's just the Torah by itself, and it has nothing to do with the mishpatim. No, they all have to do with each other. Okay. What's the word that I have here in our second little bubble there? What's that called?
Rosh.
Yes. And what's a Rosh?
Like the head.
Yes, it's the head. What book would I be talking about if I'm talking about the head? The head, or the first, or the summit, or the, Somebody said it. What'd you say? Bereshith. Yes. So what I'm going to be doing today, I'm teaching you Hebrew words, and I'm teaching you about books and scrolls. So the first book is called Bereshith. Okay. And the word Rosh is within that word. Okay. Bereshith. The first time that Sukkot is mentioned is in chapter number 33, verse number 17 of the scroll called Bereshith in the beginning. Okay. Yaakov went on to Sukkot, where he built himself a house and put shelters for his cattle. Okay. Put up shelters. This is why this place is called Sukkot. Sukkot has been mistranslated by religious people to call it a tabernacle. They call it the Feast of Tabernacles. This is not what it means. It's not a feast of tents. It's not a feast of tents. It's a feast of shelters. Okay? As you notice, Yaakov, he built for himself a house, and he put up shelters for his cattle. All right. So keep that in mind, that the shelters are what Sukkot means. That's what Sukkot actually means, a shelter. All right. It's not a house. It's not a tent. It's a shelter. And in this context here, he just left his brother who he met, and Esau was trying to get him to come with him. He's like, nah, let me stay here with the kids and, my wives, and the kids can't take the long journey, and my cattle, if I run them too much, they're all going to die. So I need to stay where I'm at. So he built Sukkot. So now we see that Sukkot is not just a festival, a moedim. Sukkot is actually a place. Okay. And it's actually a noun that represents shelters. That place is called Sukkot. Okay. And the idea behind it is building a shelter for his cattle. Kind of like what we understand about what the creator of the heavens and the earth has done for us, while you and I were being led through the wilderness. They built shelters. Hallelujah. This next word here is called names in English. What book would we be talking about names? Because name represents character. It represents who you are. Huh?
Shemot.
Oh, somebody's on it. Shemoth. And Shemoth has to do with this word shame. Okay. I got sham right there, but it's shame. And shame is the root of the word Shemoth. And Shemoth means, this is name, and this right here is names, plural. So Shemoth, absolutely. So what we're going to be talking about in the book of Shemot is what? What will we be discussing? What is Yah talking about in the book of Shemot?
Characters, names.
He's talking about character, and he's talking about people's names and their character. So anytime you read in the book of Shemot, what you're going to find is the characters of individuals. Okay, so in this book, in chapter number 23, this is the second place where the name or the festival is mentioned, okay? But it's not mentioned as Sukkot, it's mentioned as the ingathering. 3 times a year, you are to observe a festival for me, a Chag, okay? Keep the festival of Matzah for 7 days as I ordered you, okay? You are to eat Matzah at the time determined in the month of Aviv. Aviv is the first month of the year for us. For it was in this month that you left Egypt. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. Okay. Next, so that's the first festival. First festival is festival of Matzah. Okay. 3 times a year, you're supposed to come and see me. You have an appointment with me. The first one is for Matzah. Okay. That's when you need to come before me. The second one that we have is a feast of harvest, which is the first fruits of your efforts in sowing in the field. And the last festival is the festival of ingathering. Ingathering here is identified as Sukkot, okay? And the end of the year, okay, excuse me, at the end of the year, when you gather in from the fields the results of your efforts, okay? Your efforts. I want you to remember that. Your efforts has to do with that which comes from your hands and which is the work from your hands. As we discussed earlier this week, the work of your hands is called malaka. Malaka. That's what performs the work. So the set apart one, the majesty of the Holy One, the one who's set apart, has determined and said that I only want to get things from you that have to do with your hands. Your hands are very important to me, okay? And what you've done with your hands, your efforts, okay? And the efforts in which you have bestowed upon these things means things that you have maintained and things that you've worked for, things that you've cultivated. So those are the 3 times. Okay, so remember, Feast of Matzah is number 1. Festival of Harvest, which has to do with the first fruits, is number 2. And the Festival of Ingathering is number 3. What's interesting here is they're not telling you that the Festival of Harvest of your first fruits is actually not the Festival of First Fruits. It's a different harvest, but it has to do with your first fruits. Somebody tell me what that harvest is.
The grain.
That is Shava'ot. This one right here is Shava'ot, but it is of your first fruits because that's what you bring. And I'm going to give another text to verify this, to show you. So sometimes when we read this, we get confused because we're thinking it's the festival of harvest and it's the first fruits. So we'll automatically say it's Bikurim, it's the first fruits, which is true. But that's not the name of the harvest. That's not the name of the harvest. The name of the harvest is Shavuot, which has to do with the first fruits. That's why there's a comma right here. You understand? Just like this says the festival of ingathering, comma, at the end of the year, comma, when you gather it in from the fields as a result of your efforts. Okay? So that has to do with the results of your efforts from your hands, that everything that you've done in the land. Okay, we're still in the book of Shemot. The Creator tells us in chapter number 34 in Shemot, this is the 3rd time that it's mentioned. Okay, he says 6 days you will work, but on the 7th day you are to rest. Even in plowing time and harvest season, you are to rest. On that 6th day. So all the work of your hands cease on that day. Observe the festival of, the festival of Shavuot with your first gathered produce of the wheat harvest, and the festival of ingathering at the turn of the year. So Shavuot is that second festival, and the ingathering is the Sukkot, which is the third, which has to do with the fruit. Okay. So the wheat harvest is the second festival. Okay. Matzah is the first. The wheat festival is the second. And the third is the ingathering. So every festival, the second and third primarily, have to do with food. Okay. Now there's 7 different type of divine foods that the Creator has given to us, which we're going to go over later on. Right. But all 7 are not done at the first or the second festival. And all of them are not done in the third. Yah has divided them up in their seasons. Okay. So 3 times a year, you and I, okay, the men of Israel are to appear before the Supreme Master. And he tells us never to show up before him what?
Empty-handed.
You better not show up empty. Tell me why. Why shouldn't you show up empty-handed? What would be the excuse why a person's empty-handed?
Just lazy.
You're lazy. And listen carefully. Thank you. You're lazy. And that meant that Yah has already provided everything you needed in the land. So if you show up empty-handed, that means you're lazy. That means you didn't do any work. That meant that you didn't plant anything. That meant you didn't till any fields. That means that you didn't use your eyes to watch over nothing he did or gave you. That means you kind of like spat on the inheritance that was given to your fathers because of his obedience to the set apart one. There's no reason why anybody should come before Yahweh empty-handed. I'm giving you the backdrop and the background on the festival of Sukkot, which has to do with the ingathering, has to do with work. Okay. Right. So listen, but also too, it has to do with what he's done for us. And I'll explain in just a moment. There's another book in the scrolls is identified by these words, and he called. And he called. What would be the name of that scroll? Vayikra. Hallelujah. Write that down, which they would call Leviticus in English. Yahweh said to Moshe, this is a command. Tell the people of Israel, the Moedim of Yahweh, which you are to Kara, or Kadosh Mikra, are my Moedim. I put these Hebrew words here for you, not to confuse you, but to get you to understand, all right, that these words are honorable and we should use them. In order for us to understand our culture, you have to be taught what these words are and what they mean and how to say them, okay? And as you know, they function in a way that's different from the Western culture that you've been taught, okay? So number one, what we see here, and we've been over this, but I'm going to tell you what Moedim means, and I'm going to tell you, we know that it means, as Akoti, Azania had mentioned, that it's an appointed time. Okay, so I need you to come to, these are my appointments. So they're mine. They're Yahweh's. They're of Yahweh. They belong to him. Sukkot belongs to Yahweh. Shabbat belongs to Yahweh. Matzah, Pesach, Sukkot, Yom Teruah, Day of Atonement. Those are all Moedims. Rosh Kodesh is a Moedim, which you are to Kara. I told you before that Kadra in the Hebrew means to proclaim. That is your job, to proclaim. And you proclaim it by reading it, out loud. That's how you make a proclamation. Just like when a king would make a proclamation, there'll be someone standing there and they would blow that shofar. And all the people would gather, and then the king would declare, the messenger would say, "Thus saith Yahweh," blah, 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 and give out the information and make a decree or make a proclamation to the nation. This is what this is. We have to wrap our mind around being these people. You're Elyon. You're the highest degree of people. So for you and I, a kadra, a proclamation, a meeting, a gathering together, because if you look at this word kadra, the kof again means to gather. Next letter is the head. The rosh, that's a rosh. The letter rosh, and the rosh means, forgive my writing, the rosh means head. Okay? And the last is the aleph, which is the strength and authority and power. But the first two is to gather the heads. Gather what heads? The heads of the families. Gather the leaders. Gather them at the end of the day. The leaders would gather when the sun was going down to discuss all the things that went down in the community that day. That's how it was. They wanted to find out, that we have any issues today? Yes, we found this out. We found this out. Okay, what does the Torah say? How should we do this and how should we do that? That's how they were doing. Men met on a regular basis. They met at certain times, but the Creator says that this kadra here is different than your kadra or your gathering of heads at your meeting place at the end of the day. This one is kadosh. This one is a set apart gathering, which you're supposed to mikra. So kadra is inside of this mikra, and a mikra in English would be convocation. That means a meeting. That means a gathering. Okay. So I'm asking you to do a set apart proclamation, a set apart convocation, a meeting, so you can attend my meeting. This is mine, and you need to keep it. There's some of my moedim that you are going to gather together that are going to be very humbling, and there's going to be very quiet. There won't be any celebrating. Somebody tell me which one of Yah's moedim is quiet.
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur. I don't want you to open your mouth to laugh. I don't want you to have a great time. I want you to think on this day. I don't want you to have no food and no water. I don't want no celebrating whatsoever. That's my proclamation to you for that day. You just did that probably 4 days ago or 3 days ago. Okay? So there are different moedims with different seasons and different times. All my appointments are not going to be joyous. Some of my appointments are to find out exactly what did you do during the year. And Sukkot is one of them, because it's the final moedim. This is it. And this is a time in which Yah says, I'm going to want to see, what have you done over the last year? What did you put your hands to? We also find in He called, which is Vayikra, the Yahweh said to Moshe, tell the people of Israel, that is another command. On the 15th day of the 7th month is the Feast of Sukkot for 7 days to Yahweh. It is for 7 days. 7, why 7? Somebody tell me, why the number 7? It has to do
completion.
With the completion, it has to do with a complete oath. I'm making your days of this festival to be complete because it's an oath that I swore to your fathers. That's why it's mine. You understand? And on the first day, there is to be a kadosh mikra. There is supposed to be a set apart convocation, a set apart time on the first day. In our calendar today, tomorrow would be the 15th day of the 7th month. The 7th month is this month. So on our Gregorian calendar, what month is it?
10th month.
It's the 10th month. And this is what confuses our people because we're thinking it's the 10th month and it's really the 7th month. So they got 3 additional months ahead of us that we're not even part of. When is their beginning of the year?
Winter, January.
Yes, what month? When do they
January.
say this is the beginning of our year? New Year. When is New Year? For you?
January. Is it January?
January 1st. When's our New Year?
March.
Aviv, yes, between March and April, okay? But Yah tells us on this first day, on the 15th, which is Yom Rishon, for us, there is to be do not do any kind of ordinary work. And let me specify. The ordinary work that you'll be doing is your job. Doesn't mean that you can't wash dishes. It doesn't mean that you can't put something up. It doesn't mean that you can't use your hands. You just can't apply it to that which is laborious or something that has to do with your job and work that you're doing outside. Something how you earn your living, okay? You can't do that kind of work. The work that he's talking about that you can't do any of this kind of work, okay? Right? But you can, wash your dishes, feed yourself, prepare. You could do all those different types of things, okay? So that's a little different. So that's what he says in Vayikra. And this is on the 15th day of the 7th month. I have our word over here, Moedim, which I told you basically what it meant. It's a time, it's an appointment, right? And they're im on the end. So it's appointments, okay? I know that we went over this before, but we're going to go over it again. This letter M right here, it means in Hebrew, it's written like this. And what does it mean grammatically? There's a grammatical meaning, and then there is a actual physical meaning to it. So tell me, what does it mean grammatically?
Two.
It means from. And why are we going from where? What else does it mean?
Water.
Water, from water, because you got to go from your tent to go get the water. You need to pull water from a river or a stream. They had to go. That's what it means from. Okay. So that's the letter mem. That's the first letter that's associated with this word moedim. So in Hebrew, the M just looks different. But this letter here doesn't have any meaning. But this letter does. You understand? It says mo, and then it has edim. But we're going to focus on the root of this word. I want to tell you what these two letters mean. That aid, that ed that you see right there, in English, those are letters in Hebrew. So the letter that they're putting for E right there is an ayin. The next letter is the dalet, the D. It's called aid. Okay. So what does an ayin mean in Hebrew?
The eye,
That's an I. What does the dalet mean in Hebrew?
door,
Door. So what do we have? We have the door of the eye. Okay. The door of the eye. That's what it means, the door of the eye. It also means to repeat. It also means what you and I need to understand of what this moedim represents. Moedim means to be a witness. That's what it means. I need you to be a witness. So I got a question here. Let me clear this out. Okay. Sorry, you guys. I got a little. Get rid of that. It's a witness. That's what you and I are. When you and I keep the moedim, Okay. And it means from witness. Okay. You're witnessing this event, this appointment. When you show up to the appointment, you're verifying that you're a witness, and you're literally, okay, somebody tell me, what does a witness do in court?
Witness testifies.
They testify. Great. So when you show up to the Moedim and you keep it according to the Torah, according to the Mishpatim, according to the Kukim, and according to the Moedim, and you keep it on the day that he tells you, and you verify it and you celebrate it the way that he told you, you do it the amount of time that he told you to do it, and you follow what he says, then guess what you're doing? You're being, what kind of witness are you being?
Eyewitness.
You're being a what? You're an
Eyewitness.
eyewitness. Thank you. But also too, you are a faithful witness. You're a trustworthy witness. When you testify to this, when you keep every detail of what he said, you're being a faithful eyewitness. This is what he is talking about when he says that you need to proclaim it. I don't have a text for it right here, or excuse me, I don't have a slide, but I know in the book of Isaiah, Yah said that you are my what? You are my witnesses. You are my witnesses. When you keep Passover and Pesach, you're saying that you're a witness to what he did for the children of Israel by bringing them out of the land of Mizraim. When you keep the feasts of Matzah, you are proclaiming that Yahweh fed us in the wilderness because we didn't have any bread to eat. When you keep Shavuot, you're testifying to the fact that Yahweh gave us the Torah from Mount Sinai. And also, too, you are verifying and be a witness that he gave us the land that he promised to give to our ancestors. When you keep Rosh Chodesh, you remember that Yah started months for you, gave you your own personal calendar. Outside from everyone, you and I are so special that he's decided to give you your own calendar. I'm going to give you your own days. I'm going to have a relationship with you is beyond comprehension. Nobody else on the face of the earth got this except for you. Nobody else on the earth knows anything about what I'm talking about except for you. That's how special you are. You are Elyon to me. You're a chosen people. You are a kadosh people that I set apart for myself, and I have set apart times for you. Stop looking at the Shabbat as being a time, oh, I got to do the Shabbat, I can't work. You and I need to wake up and understand that that's a Moedim. It's a time of celebration for us. Primarily, a majority, 99.9% of these, except for the day of Yom Kippur, is celebration. That's what these Moedim represent. Sukkot is a remembrance of what he did for the children of Israel while they lived in tents. Moedim also, too, has to do with seasons. Everything that Yah has designed has to do with seasons. Our Elohim is an Elohim of seasons. Look at what he said. He said, let there be lights in the dome of the sky to provide the day, to divide the day from the night. There is a dividing time between the day and the night. Stop joining the day and the night together. Let the day be the day and the night be the night. Let the sun be for the day and let the moon be for the night and the stars. And let them, these lights, be for signs, oaths. That's what it's called, an oath. And for seasons, for Moedim, Yoms, and Shana. This is what it is. The seasons are Moedims. Those are the appointments. So what we see is that the lights are directly connected to the Moedim. This is the reason why he could tell you on the 15th day of this month, on the 7th day of this month, on the 1st day of this month, on the 9th to the 10th day of this month, on the 14th day of this month, and the 15th day of this month. And the day, and when you see this happen, then you'll know this. On the first day of the month, which is the oath, which is the Rosh Chodesh, our Elohim is in control of the seasons. He's in control of the lights in the heavens. And these same lights, which we call the sun, the moon, and the stars, are what to him? They are his witnesses. They're testifying. Everybody is testifying. Everything that's in direct connection with the creator of the heavens and the earth has a duty and a responsibility to what? Proclaim the days of Yahweh. Proclaim these Moedims. So the very lights that are over our head today and the very lights that are over our head at night are witnesses. They not only witness the Moedim, but they also witness to us as that we're going to be the people. It's all connected, people. As I told you earlier, the creator of the heavens and the earth has decided to give us an idea of what harvesting and gathering is. I got this offline, and what they tell us here is there's 7 fruits in barley that I told you about. Right here, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can find these in Devarim chapter number 8 to verify what I just said. Those are the major crops that were given to Israel. And of course, they had some of these other things as well. All right. But the 7 that's mentioned in Deuteronomy is chapter number 8. As you can see, Gil had mentioned that our springtime is Aviv, which is right around March. Then we start seeing things begin to come in April. You see, so, and then certain things are harvested at certain times, okay? So right around here, you got your Pesach. And then right around here, the 3rd, around this time, about May or June, you're going to have your Shavuot. And then here on this time, you have your ingathering of Sukkot. Okay. And this is what it is. So you can see right here, these are the things that the creator of the heavens and the earth was saying that, hey, at this in particular time, I want you to take these things and I need you to bring them and gather them to me. So in Sukkot, these are the things that which Yah says that I need you to bring to me. And when you bring them to me, you don't come empty-handed. And you bring me the best of what you have. And this is the reason why they drink a lot of wine during this in particular time, because they went through and they smashed a lot of those grapes. They have pomegranate wine. They got all different types of wine. They got olives, they got figs. You understand? So these are the things that were provided. So as you can see, this is the reason why the Greeks and the Romans want to distract you and take you away from your heritage. They want to take you away from agriculture. They want to take you away from your land. They want you to be focused on things that can't fill your stomach, like your clothes and your car and your house. The things that really, they matter, but they don't matter. If it comes down to survival, you need food. You understand? So the Holy One, the set apart one of the children of Israel, our Elohim, has provided us with food that you and I would need to survive. This is what he gave to our fathers. And we put this on the back burner. The wilderness. In the wilderness. Somebody tell me, what book would in the wilderness be?
Numbers.
Whatever.
But Midbar, yes, Numbers in the wilderness. That's what the book of Numbers is about, in the wilderness. And the wilderness, just to give a little bit more clarity, this has to do with order. That's what this has to do with. It has to do with order. It has to do with organization. They had to be organized. This is where Yah counted them. This is where he told each of them to be with their tents. This is where everything went down in the wilderness. This is what you would call a training ground. This was a training place to prepare them. Preparation, training and preparation. I got to bring you to the wilderness to prepare you. I got to teach you my ways before I bring you into this land, because it's not just what's in the land that's important, but it's my land. It's the land that I chose. It's Yah searched the land out. But while you're in the wilderness, I want to talk to you and I want to show you. You spent more time in the wilderness than what you're supposed to have. You could have literally won the land in less than a week and a half to 2 weeks, but you didn't want to. From the time of me giving you the Torah, you should have went into the land, but you didn't. The reason why you didn't is because you had fear of the enemies that I put before you. You went in and you said that the land wasn't good. You said that, the land eats people up. You came back with some fruit and say, yeah, they got some good fruit, but it's a terrible land. You spoke against the land. And that's what a lot of our people are doing today. You will also find in the book of Midbar, which is in the wilderness, that he says the same thing. On the 15th day of the 7th month, you're to have a Kadosh Mikra. You're supposed to have a set apart convocation or assembly. You are not to do any kind of ordinary work, and you are to observe a feast to Yahweh for 7 days. Okay. So I've been bringing you to every last one of the places that you can find Sukkot. You find it in the book of Genesis and Bereshit, where it's mentioned as a place where our ancestor had decided that he wanted to call that place that because he built shelters. I also took you to Shemot, which is the names, where Yah has given the character and tells you who he's talking to and names. He even mentions his name in the book of Shemot. Okay. Then we went to Vayikra, and he called. And he called what? He called the Levaim. He called different people to different positions. And now we're in the wilderness. You can see he's mentioning here too. So these are the different places where it's mentioned. Okay. Also too, in Numbers or Midbar chapter number 29, we find something called the offerings. Yah says that I want you to give me some offerings. He doesn't tell you in Vayikra how many offerings. He doesn't tell you in Shemot how many offerings. He doesn't tell you in Bamidbar, in Davarim how many offerings, but in Bamidbar, he tells them how many. He tells them how many. Over a 7-day period, you're supposed to offer 70 young bulls, 14 rams, 98 male lambs, and 7 goats. Okay. In addition to all the regular Shabbat and daily offerings, including the minkah and the drink offerings. The minkah is the grain offerings, and drink offerings is the wine along with some of the strong liquor. What I want you to understand from this, that this is 100, and I believe 185. There's 185. No, let me see. I don't want to be wrong. Let me see. I had the number in my head, but you got numbers and you get old, you'd be like, wait a minute. 70, 14, 98, and 7. You have 189 offerings just on those 7 days. And that doesn't include the 8th day. The 7 goats right here are for sin offerings. 7 goats for sin offerings. Just 7. That's it. Every day, provide a goat for a sin offering, right? The other ones, and the funny part about it is he didn't ask for 70 all on one day. He starts off with a certain amount. I think he starts off with 13, then he goes to 12, then he goes to 11, then he goes to 10. You know, he goes from all the way down. He just, every day he's supposed to go down to a certain amount. Okay. So he starts off with a high number, and then every day it gets lower and lower and lower for the young bulls. The rams stayed the same. Okay. And the lambs stay the same. But this one is like a progression going down. It starts going high and then it goes down over time over the 7-day period. All right. What's important about this? What can you and I derive from this, or what can we understand? Well, what we can understand is that the Christians and the Greeks and the Romans and a lot of your family members have told you, and your Bible study teachers have told you that Yah's not interested in offerings, and that he doesn't want offerings because he doesn't want sin offerings anymore. As you can see, the percentage of the other offerings that he asked for here is greater than this offering. So sin offering is not even the primary offering. It's just so you can stay in connection with Yah and to be in his presence. So Yah enjoys these offerings, and these are the offerings that will be presented to him. Do you know if a person doesn't show up for Sukkot in the book of Zechariah, that he says, if anyone who doesn't show up for Sukkot, I didn't put the slide in here because I don't have enough time, but he says that I will destroy the people who don't show up for Sukkot. So Sukkot is eternal. Sukkot's going to go on forever. You understand? And at Sukkot will be these offerings. Yah cares about offerings. Sin offering, not a big deal. It's only 7. So what about all these? He didn't want these? None of these right here are associated with sin. None of them. We understand. None of them are. So you can take from that and learn from that. And that's not even including the 8th day. Somebody tell me, what's the name for the book, The Words? Davarim. That's the name of that scroll, The Words. In this book, in chapter number 16, the Creator tells us about the festival of Sukkot. He says it's for 7 days. After you are to keep, and this is a command, you are to keep the festival of Sukkot for 7 days after you have gathered the produce of the threshing floor, the winepress. Rejoice at your festival. That's the purpose of the festival, to rejoice at your festival. Rejoice at your festival. Have your wine, your sons, your daughters, your male, your female slaves, the Lavaim, the foreigners and the orphans and the widows living among you. Those are the social classes that I've been telling you. You understand? 7 days you are to keep this festival for Yahweh your Elohim. The place Yahweh your Elohim will choose, because Yahweh your Elohim will bless you in all your what? What is he going to bless you in? Your crops. He's going to bless you in all your work of your hand. So you're to be full of joy. You see? It has to do with the land. So what are we seeing? We're seeing something totally different. We're seeing that in order to keep the Sukkot the way that he wanted us to keep it, you and I should be in that land. Well, what did your Torah portion say? Your Torah portion said this in Devarim chapter 31, verse 10 through 13. Moshe gave them these orders. At the end of every 7 years during the festival of Sukkot in the year of Shemitah, when all Yisrael have come to appear in the presence of Yahweh at the place he will choose, you are to read this Torah before all Yisrael so that you can hear it. Assemble the people, the men, the women, the little ones, and the foreigners you have in your town so they can hear, learn, and fear Yahweh your Elohim and take care to obey all his words of this Torah, so that their children who have not known can hear and learn to fear Yahweh your Elohim as long as you live in the land you're crossing the Jordan to possess. We went over that earlier this week, and the primary reason for this is to hear, learn, fear, and do what Yah says. Being part of Sukkot has to do with learning, as we see that he connected it to the words, okay? He says on the 2nd day. Now, this is out of the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah is what they would call Nehemiah. And we understand that Torah and Sukkot has to do with learning. He says on the 2nd day, the heads of the fathers of the clans of all the people assembled with the Kohanim and the Leviim before Ezra, the Torah teacher, to study the words of the Torah. They found written in the Torah that Yahweh had ordered through Moshe that the people of Israel were to live in Sukkot, the feast of the 7th month. So now these are people talking about those who are in exile. And what they did was when they heard, they embraced it. And when they heard that, and at that, they were to announce and pass the word in all their cities in Yerushalayim, go out to the mountains and collect branches of olives, wild olives, myrtles, palms, and other leafy trees to make Sukkot as prescribed. So the actual building materials of the Sukkot is these things: olive branches, wild olives, myrtles, palms, and leafy trees to make Sukkot as prescribed. Okay. Today, what they've done is we said, you know what? We don't have this. So what we'll do is we'll put a tent in place of it. Are we following what he said as prescribed in the Torah? No, we're doing what we believe is the right thing to do, which is to put up a tent. It has nothing to do with the olives and the palms. And you could put some of those things on your tent, but this is what he said at the place, what he said, according to what's prescribed. So the people went out and he brought them and made Sukkot for themselves out of the materials in which they were told, according to the Torah, each one on the roof of his house, and also in their courtyards, and in the courtyards of the house of Elohim, in the open space by the water gate, in the open space by Ephraim gate. Okay, that's can be found in Nehemiah 8:15 through 16. There's some evidence here that tells us about this in particular time. These individuals were coming out of exile, okay? But there's some evidence here about this that Yah wants us to know. He wants us to know that the entire community of those who had returned from exile, they made Sukkot, right? They made these shelters, and they lived in these shelters. For the people of Israel had not done this when? Since the days of Yehoshua, the son of Nun. So there was very great joy. And as they read every day from the first day until the last day in the scroll of the Torah of Elohim, they kept the feast for 7 days. Then on the 8th day, there was a solemn assembly according to the rule, according to the mishpat, according to the judgment. What is the evidence here? The evidence speaks to the fact, where'd it happen? The evidence speaks to the fact that they have not done this since the days of Yehoshua, the son of Nun. But I thought we just read in our Torah portion, you're supposed to do this every 7 years. So the children can learn the Torah. So the men and the women and the stranger and the foreigner. So they didn't do this. This is evidence against the people. You understand? So what can we pull from this? When we don't do what Yah says, things go bad. They go really bad. Now listen, Yehoshua, the son of Nun, I looked at that and I told you guys about Yehoshua, and I told you how Yah had chose him and how he was faithful. He was always inside of the tent of meeting, but I didn't tell you what that word right there means. They call him Nun, but it's Nun. And according to the Hebrew, that is a letter called the Nun. And the Nun means what? Continue. Continue what? The seed. This is a picture graph of it. It's a seed. You understand? That's what Yehoshua means on a side note. But we know from the evidence, going back to where I'm talking about this evidence, the evidence is that they have not done it. They have not done this since the days of Yehoshua, the son of Nun. There was a very great joy when they came to do this. So you and I should feel good about this. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you and I are doing something that listen, they're doing this when they came out of their exile. You and I are different. We're doing it while we're in our exile. And we're only doing it based on what we have. And what we have right now is nothing. Not materially, but you do have something I'm going to share with you that you do have. And I mean nothing materially. Okay, so materially, you don't have anything. You don't have nothing to offer. You don't have no branches. You don't have none of that. We'll get poison oak and so forth and so on. Okay, we're not gathered as a community. But you can see there's evidence against us as a people that we failed to do what Yahweh says. Why did Yah mention, why, Ma means why? Why Nakamya? Why is Yah telling us this about Sukkot and they didn't keep it since the days of Yehoshua the son of Nun? Why is he telling us that they were studying the Torah? Why is he telling us this? Why is he using this guy? Because Nakamya's name means Yahweh comforts. Yah's letting us know in context that the individuals that kept Sukkot for the first time were the ones who came back from exile. They discovered the Sukkot through the Torah, studying the Torah. Once they studied it, they performed it, they embraced it, and they did what they're supposed to have done. Then they were able to experience some type of joy. Okay, so the idea, the formula is study the Torah, discover the rules and the regulations and the Moedim. Once you discover those things, then you and I will experience some level of joy. Even while they came out of exile, people, they were still slaves. You can read the book of Nehemiah and Ezra. They'll tell you in chapter number 9 and 10 that we're still slaves. They were still slaves. Why? They just got out of their exile. Okay, so you and I are in an exilic situation. And Yah is saying to us today that I want to comfort you. The Torah for us is supposed to be comforting words. The Moedim of Sukkot is supposed to be comforting. And I know right now it's not comforting, but I want you to listen. In the book of Zephaniah, it says, on that day, it will be said to Yerushalayim, do not fear Zion. Don't let your hands droop down. Yahweh, your Elohim, is right there with you as a mighty Savior. He will rejoice over you and be glad. He will be silent in his love. He will shout over you with joy. I will gather those of yours who grieve over the appointed feast, which are the Moedim, and bear the burden of reproach. Why? Because they cannot keep them. I'm going to gather those who grieve. I'm going to gather those who suffer from sorrow and are very disappointed because of the reproach. We're facing reproach, and we're facing the idea of having to bear that reproach in face of the nations. When I mention the Sukkot and I'm going through all these details, we can see how far off you and I really are. We don't have 189 offerings. We don't. We don't have the lambs, the rams, the oil, nothing. We have absolutely nothing. But why? Matzah, why would Yah mention it? Because Yahweh is a hit, because Yahweh is telling us that Zephaniah is a prophet that he uses because his name means Yahweh's hidden treasure. Who is Yahweh's hidden treasure? You and I are the hidden treasure. Understanding the Torah is the hidden treasure. When he mentions that I'm going to come and gather them, it's a hint. And he mentions that he's telling Zion that, hey, don't worry about anything. I'm going to give you some joy. Well, when was joy experienced in Yerushalayim? It was experienced at Sukkot. It was a last festival. This is a great festival of joy. So Sukkot is a picture of what Yah plans on doing about gathering, because this festival is not just Sukkot in the shelters, but it has to do with in gathering. This is the last time when Yah gathers everything in, and that's when we will experience joy. A lot of scholars believe at this time of ingathering at Sukkot, then that's when the creator of the heavens and the earth will gather his people. That's the reason why Matzah is to let us know that Yahweh's hidden treasure is found in the Torah. You understand? And you and I are bearing a burden right now that he's going to take off. So what am I saying? He knows what you and I are experiencing. So how should you and I respond to this exilic Chag Sukkot, meaning this festival of Sukkot? What do we do? Which should be our offerings? Well, it's found in Hosea chapter 14, verse 1 through 2. He says, return, Yisrael, to Yahweh, your Elohim, for your guilt has made you stumble. Take words with you and return to Yahweh. Say to him, forgive all guilt and accept what is good. We will pay instead of bulls the offerings of our lips. You see? You and I want to take a moment right now to tell you the things that you can offer to him. I told you about everything that you don't have, but let me tell you what you do have. Over the last 7 months, okay, the last 7 months from Pesach until now, you and I have been working a field, okay? And that field is you. It's your life. It's your body. That's what you're made from. You're made from the earth. And what you and I were supposed to have been doing was planting seeds in our minds. And what you and I were supposed to be doing is putting in work in the Torah, putting in work in this body. The Torah gives the rain, which is the words of the living Elohim. And you and I were supposed to do this work over the last 7 months. And at the end of this time, there's an ingathering for all the information that you've been learning, all the presentations, all the studyings, all the, Yom Shalishi and the Yom Kamishis and the Yom Shabbat and the Moedim that we've been attending. You and I were supposed to be growing and developing. And what we have to bring to Yahweh, first and foremost, is the words from our lips. We have to understand that we're in a position of exile. But Yah says, I will accept the things from your lips if they're true and if they're sincere. I'll accept it. He told us to never come to him with empty hands. The work of your hands. Instead of you work in the field in the land in which you're supposed to be in, now I have you working in your life. So what do you have to show Yah after these 7 months? What do you have to bring forward to him? Well, did you learn any Hebrew? Did you learn any new words? Did you learn any concepts? Did you learn anything? Did you learn anything about him? Or had you just been going along and you just been lazy and haven't done anything he asked you to do? Because you don't think you need to because you ain't in the land, like a lot of our people do. You understand? And I'm not talking to individuals on here. I'm talking about those who are watching live. What do you have to show for the last 7 months? What do you have to show for? And why Hosea? Mash Hosea? Because it deals with salvation. It deals with salvation. Yah's a forgiving Elohim. He's a merciful Elohim. He's asking for us to bring words to him. I know you don't have the bulls, and I know you don't have the lambs. I know you don't have the rams. I know you don't have the mincha. I know you don't have the olive oil. I know you don't have the drink offerings, but what do you have? If you're interested in salvation, then you should prepare your mouth to speak the right words to Yahweh. The word mikomoka, very important word. Mi means who, and komoka means like you. Who is like you? Who is like you? This is a question that's asked in the book of Micah. Who is an Elohim like you, pardoning sin and overlooking the crimes of the remnant of his heritage? He does not retain his anger forever because he delights in grace. He will again have compassion on us. He will subdue our iniquities. You will throw all their sins into the depths of the sea. You will show truth to Yaakov and grace to Abraham, as you have sworn to our ancestors since the days of long ago. This is found in the book of Micah or Micah. Who is like Elohim? Who's like him? Nobody. He forgives and overlooks the crimes of his heritage. He's not going to be angry with us forever. But if you notice, what did he say? He says, you will show truth to Yaakov and grace to Abraham. By what? He's going to show us the truth of his word, and he's going to also turn around and show grace to Abraham. That grace is bringing the people back into the land. There's no other reason. Listen to me. There is no other reason for Yah to bring us back into the land unless what? Unless he shows grace to us. That's what he means by showing grace to Abraham. He uses this word pardon here. Okay. I'm going to pardon him. Okay. This word, naso, or nosa, nosa. Let me explain nosa to you. Nosa is one of the most amazing words in Hebrew. Okay. What's amazing about it is it has to do with forgiving and pardoning. Okay. As you know, in Hebrew, letters mean things. We have the Nun, we have the Samek, and we have the Aleph. Okay. Those are the three letters. And if you know Hebrew, you would know that one of these is a child root. Somebody tell me this in my class, which one of these letters is a child? Hmm?
The new.
There's four letters that will only be a child. It's a Aleph, a Wa, excuse me, I should have said a Hey first, a Wa, and a Yod. These are the four. First, second, third, fourth. An Aleph, a Hey, a Wa, and a Yod. Okay, so this right here is the child. So these right here have to be the parent because there's take two. Okay, so two Hebrew letters together is a parent root. You add one of these letters, which is an Aleph, a Hey, a Wa, or a Yod, and that would make it a child root. Okay, and don't worry, you'll get it. You'll get it. So what I want to tell you about is I want to tell you about the child, and I'm also going to tell you about the parents. So let's look at the parents right quick. What does the letter Nun mean? What does it represent?
See.
Survey says seed. The seed, continuation. Good job. What is Samek? I know it's long. We haven't seen this one in a while. Samek is a little confusing, but this is what it looks like. It's a thorn bush. Okay. So the Samek, okay, the Samek is a thorn, and it means grabbing hold of. That's what it means. Okay. And the Aleph, somebody tell me what the Aleph means.
Ox.
Ox and strength and power. Good job. So the parents of this in particular word mean this: a continual grabbing hold of. Okay. That's what the parents mean. A continual grabbing hold of, because the seed means to continue. The grabbing is the second letter. Okay. Grabbing hold of. Why did I call it Mikamoka? Because I want you to understand something. The creator of the heavens and earth has called you and I to take hold of him, right? And he says, I'm pardoning you. I'm forgiving you. So what is Yah really doing? Huh? If this is the root, if this is the agricultural meaning of this letter, continual grabbing hold of, what is the creator doing? He's continually grabbing hold of you and I. The word nasa, this part is to continue grabbing hold of. This adds an additional letter, which means burden. And it means to carry. So guess what you and I have been to Yahweh? We've been a burden to him. And he's been carrying us. And he's never stopped carrying. That's the reason why he says no sa. This right here means imperative. It's an imperative. This letter right here means that it's an imperative. I mean, not an imperative. It's a participle. And a participle is a ing. That means a continuing. He's constantly carrying you and I. He's constantly forgiving you and I. He's constantly grabbing hold of you and I. He's constantly compelling us to change. He's constantly carrying the burden of what Israel has done. That's what he's been doing this whole time. It hasn't been you and I that have been carrying him. It's been him who has taken hold of us, and he's continually grabbing hold of you and I. That's what he's been doing. You see? He says, I will. Why did he tell us I will? Because he wants you to know something. I will heal their disloyalty. Same chapter that he just told us, I'll forgive you and I'll throw your sins into the lake of forgiveness. I'll show you truth and Abraham grace. I will heal their disloyalty. We've been disloyal to Yahweh, but he's going to heal it. And he said, I will love them what? Freely. For my anger has turned from me. It's only when his anger is turned from him that he will love us freely. You see, the Torah portion this week had to do with walking, which has to do with lock. We've already went over lock, meaning lifestyle, and to have the staff in one's hand, right? To walk. But listen what he says. Let the wise understand these things and let the discerning know them. For the ways of Yahweh are straight and the righteous walk. That means lock. They lock. They walk in them. Walk in what? They walk in Yahweh's ways. But in them, in what? In Yahweh's ways, the sinners stumble. You see? Because Yahweh's ways are straight. The righteous can only walk in those ways. If you can't walk in Yahweh's ways if you're not righteous, that's when he's letting us know. He says, in them sinners stumble. Why? Because they don't walk straight. His way demands for you to have balance and to have a direction and to be firm. And if you don't have that and you can't walk in those ways, then you're going to stumble. So what is he saying? He's saying that the ways of Yahweh are not for the sinner. That's why people don't come to Yah, is because they don't want to walk in a righteous and a straight way. They want to do whatever they want to do. They want to go outside of the bounds in which he said. So it's impossible for a sinner to be walking in Yahweh's ways. It's a deliberate person who's sinning, not someone who made a mistake. I want to be clear on that. Okay. So we don't get it confused. That's what that means. Yah's been taking a hold of us. Now I'm going to finish up, and I might go a little faster because now I'm going to tell you about his face. His face is going to be found in chapter number 39 of the book of Yakez Ki Quel. Okay. Here's another thing that he said, I'll do. In our Torah portion, he said, I will be hiding my face from them because of all their evil they have done in turning to other gods. Yeah. Yah has hidden his face from us. And it's uncomfortable and it doesn't feel good. But he wants us to know something, what he will do. I will display my glory among the nations, and all the nations will see the punishment I inflict and the hand I lay on them. They're getting it. Okay? That's what I'm going to do. Right? Because I've turned my face from them. I need you to yada this. Yada means to know. Okay? I looked at this, and the word is a yod, it's a dalet, and it's an ayin. Okay? Out of this word, what letter is the child root?
Yod.
There you go. The yod is the child. Perfect. So that leaves us with the parents. The parents are the dalet and the ayin. Remember I mentioned earlier the ayin and then the dalet? So this is the door of the eye, and this is the door of the eye of the door. So one means this here that we're talking about here means knowledge. And it means to see because you have the eye. Okay. And you get knowledge from what? Visual observation. I'm spelling stuff wrong. Observation. That's where you get your knowledge from. That what a person sees through their eyes will give them the knowledge that they need. Okay. So you see in the word to know or yada, okay, means to see. You hear the word yad in there, which is the hand. Well, we're not talking about the hand. We're talking about knowledge. And we're talking about what a person can actually see, because that is what this word means, because it has to do with the eye. Okay. Now, why is this important? I want to tell you why. I had to explain the word yada to you because I want you to know something. A lot of us might get our feelings hurt after I share this, but it's the truth. But I need you to accept it. Accept the truth. Don't deny it. Just accept it. Yada means this. Yah says, after I finish doing what I'm going to do to the nations, and after I inflict on them, from that day forward, the people of Israel will know that I am Yahweh their Elohim. From what? When are you going to know this? You're going to know it when I display my glory among the nations, and all the nations will see the punishment I inflict and that hand I lay on them. That's when you're going to know who I am. When I said our feelings are going to get hurt because you and I don't know him. You don't know him, and I don't know him. You know of him, but you don't know him. The reason why you and I don't know him is because you and I have never had a personal experience with him as a people. Let me be clear. According to definition, what did he say? If to know me is to what? Knowledge has to do with the eyes. God's not telling you to believe anything. He's telling you to know. I want you to absolutely know who I am. Let me ask you something. How did he reveal himself to the children of Israel in Mitzrayim? What did he use? Did he not use signs? Did he not use wonders? Did he not show up to them in fire? Did he not show up in a cloud? Did he not? Huh? What did he do? You understand? Yah doesn't want you to believe anything. What he wants you to do is to know him. And the only way you and I are going to fully know him, and I mean fully understand what he's saying, is when you and I see him. We're going to see his glory. That's what you and I are going to see. People get mad. I say we're not blessed. I say we're Asheri. We're not Baruch. They get mad. They don't want to come to class anymore. I tell people we're not with him. I say he turned his back on us. Nah, he didn't. His back is on. His face ain't against me. Is that right? Okay. In exile, listen to this. In exile, the nations will know that the people of Israel went into exile for their sin because they were unfaithful to me. So I hid my face from them. This is not Deuteronomy. This is in Yechezkel, which is Yahweh is my strength. Yes. And he's the strength and he's the power. So I hid my face from them and I handed them over to their enemies. And they all fell by the sword. So we understand that exile and hiding my face go hand in hand. That's what he means by hiding my face. I hid my face from them. That's why you and I are in exile. We're in exile because of our sin. And our sin is recognized by this word pasha. Pasha means to be in revolt. It means to be a rebel against the creator of the heavens and the earth. This is the reason why we revolted against him. And we were not just asked to leave, we were forced out of the land. Okay. He says that's what's going to happen. It's found in the book of Yechezkel, which is Ezekiel. Okay. He said, I dealt with them according to their uncleannesses, okay, and their offenses, and I hid my face from them. See? So you and I still are in a state of uncleanness. And Yah has not washed away all of our transgressions. Yah's anger is still to this day on us because you and I are still in exile. And that's what you and I need to understand. And if we understood this, it would change the way that we seek him out, and it would change our mindset on how we would read the Torah and study it. You and I are not being religious anymore. We're understanding the facts. The facts are that Yah says that I've hid my face from them while they're in their exile. But I'm going to deal with the nations. And then after I deal with them, then they'll know. Then my people will know me. Yah is the supreme master. The supreme master of the heavens and the earth has said this. Therefore, the supreme master Yahweh says this. Now I will restore the fortunes of Yaakov. When? After I have destroyed the nations. Now I will restore the fortunes of Yaakov and have compassion on the entire house of Israel. Not 1, 2, 5, 7, 10 tribes. All the entire house of Israel. And I will be jealous for my set apart name. Has this happened yet? Someone answered. Has this happened?
No.
No. We haven't been restored. So has Yah had compassion on us? No. Has he had compassion on the whole entire house of Israel? No. 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 I have, and I will be jealous. When? When I restore their fortunes. You see? My Kadoshi is my holiness, who I am, my set apartness. They will bear their shame and all their guilt from what? Breaking faith with me. Once they are living securely in their land with no one to make them afraid. This will be after I have brought them back from the peoples and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, thereby being consecrated, being set apart through them in the sight of many nations. I'm going to set myself apart through them. And through them means all 12 tribes of Israel, not some of them, all of them. And this has not happened yet. Yah has not restored us. And this makes all of us a little bit upset, and we're angry because we think, well, we're turning to the Torah. So obviously, he showed us compassion, right? Right? He's showing us compassion. No, Yah has shown us kindness. That's and that's grace. The compassion of Yah is dealing with bringing us back to our land. You see? So we have little bits and pieces of things, but we don't have the whole picture. You see? And then he says, then what? Then they will know. They will know what? After I bring them back, after I restore their fortunes, after I bring everybody back to their homeland, then they'll know that I'm Yahweh their Elohim. Because you and I don't know him. Yah's face is still hidden from us today. Since it was I want to be clear here. Yah mentions I several times. I want you to pay attention to how many times he says it. Okay. They're going to know that I am Yahweh, their Elohim, since it was I who caused them to go into exile among the nations. And it was I who regathered them to their own land. I will leave none of them there anymore, none. And I will no longer hide my face from them. For I have poured out my spirit on the house of Yisrael and Nahum. That means a declaration, a prophetic proportion to let you know that the master, the supreme master Yahweh, has spoken this as a future prophecy. Okay? This is what it is. Now, either you can accept this or you can go into denial. The fact of the matter is, he says, I will no longer hide my face from them. Yah's face is no longer hidden from us. When what? When I have regathered them to their own land, and I haven't left any of them. I won't hide my face from them. And when I bring you back, then you will get my spirit. You're not getting my spirit at your church service. And you're not getting my spirit right now while you're in the land of wickedness. Because you guys have a wrong idea of my holiness and my set apartness. You think that my spirit is this Holy Spirit given by the New Testament, and it's not. You have been separated from me, the King of the universe, the Supreme Master. My face shines upon you. You'll know it. You'll know it because you won't experience any oppression. You'll know it when you don't experience any depression. You'll know that I'm with you when you're not sick anymore. You'll know it that I'm with you when you live over 100 years old and it's not a problem. You'll know it when you're coming to the festivals and you're celebrating. You will know it after I restore you. I need to restore you. That's what I need to do. See, and that's been the problem for us. We think that the creator of the heavens and the earth has restored us, and he hasn't. We think that, because we keep the Moedim, that we've been restored. We haven't. We haven't been restored. What you and I are doing is we're making up for the crimes that we've committed. We're saying we're sorry. We're learning what Deuteronomy chapter number 30 mentions about considering what he has said and thinking about it. Okay. I didn't mention all this to make you unhappy. I just want you to know that don't be too, you're going to grieve. You're going to feel bad because you can't do the things that he's asking you to do. But he's saying, I know your reproach and I know the burden that you're carrying as my people. I understand that, but you're not the only one who's been bearing that burden. He himself has been bearing the burden with us. You think it's easy for him not to have the people that he called to be his own and for them not to praise him, knowing that you and I are the ones that he created and called from the beginning to praise him, and yet there's no praise being given to him in the space that he has provided for that praise? You think it's easy for him that he's lost and destroyed his house, the sanctuary where his name was? You think it's easy for him to watch? I could go to scriptures right now and he says, I bemoan for my son. I know what my son is going through. Yah has been with us this whole time. Okay. Meaning not like, hey, he's with us. He's been experiencing this with us from a distance, and he's been experiencing it, and he's been mourning over us, and he's been waiting for us to turn back to him. He's also told us if Israel would just turn from their ways, wouldn't I defeat their enemies immediately? You see? So it's hard for us to accept that Yah has turned his face from us. It's hard to understand that Yah has said, I've hidden my face from them. When you're mad at your children, you care about them, but you're not really for them. Not when they disrespect you, and not when they spit in your face, and not when they hate you. Yah says that you and I loathed him, and we disregard his commands. And we have to pay. You understand? And that's why people don't want to be part of this lifestyle, this walk, this journey, this lak, this lekah. They don't want none of this, you see? Because it means that things have to change. They have to accept this fact that Yah's face has been hidden from us for thousands of years. But there's coming a day when it will no longer be hidden from us. Is when he's going to reveal himself to us. And what you and I need to do is keep doing what you're doing. Keep working in the field of your mind. Keep planting, keep harvesting, keep watering your mind with the Torah. Then at the end of your season, you'll be able to gather and you have something to show Yah. And that's all you and I have. If you really want to be honest, all you and I have is the words from our lips, and they have to be sincere. We can't play a game with him. So this is not a religious ceremony. Okay. This ain't a religious talk. It's the truth. This is where we're at. So what's next? What's next is the song of what they would call the Ha'azanu, which is to hear. In our Torah portion, Yah told Moshe, hey, listen, I know that these people are going to turn against me. I knew this before I even brought them into the land. I know it. I know how they think. I know what they formed in their mind. I know that's what he's letting us know. He did say that. I didn't put his slide up, but he says, I know what's in their mind. Okay. What's in their mind and with the thoughts that they have calculated and they formed is we're going to go along with this right now until we get what we want, and then we're going to change, and then we're going to do what we want to do. And that's what happened to us. And that's still the kind of the case today. But there's a song in Deuteronomy, chapter number 32, a song, a S-O-N-G, called a Shirah, that is mentioned, okay, and that they were supposed to memorize in order to be a witness against them along with the Torah. So he says, I want you to write this song, and I want you to rehearse it, and I want them to practice it. We're going to get into that next week, so I'm not going to share, what I know about it right now. But what I do know is this: there's a lot of things in there that he mentions that he's never mentioned anywhere else in the Torah or any of the prophets. He's never mentioned these words. All the Hebrew words that are mentioned, literally almost all of them, are never mentioned anywhere else in none of the writings. They're only in that particular chapter of the scroll, which I found to be quite interesting. Okay. So that is your lesson for today. That is your understanding for today. Praise be to the living Elohim. Prepare your hearts for Shabbat, for the rest of Shabbat, and prepare your hearts for Sukkot. I do want to offer to you tomorrow, which is the beginning of Sukkot. I can, in order to follow the mishpat. You said, well, if you tell me we don't have it, then what's the purpose of meat? Because we're doing what we need to do, whatever we can do. He says that you and I are supposed to have a Kadosh Mikra. We're supposed to gather on that day, right? And so if you'd like to, you can show up. I will be here probably I'll be available at 2:00 tomorrow. I don't know what your guys' day looks like, but I'll be on here tomorrow at 2:00. And I don't know what to talk about, but I'll be on here to gather just if we need to pray just for a moment, just to gather and open our Sukkot up for the rest of this week, because this week is a time of joy. And even though you and I don't have the things that they had and the little bit that they did have, and once we came out of exile, it's still a time for us to be joyous, because he does want us to remember that we lived in shelters with Yahweh. It's a time of remembrance. Every one of the Moedim points us to what Yah has done for us. I don't know if you know, but Yah's name was mentioned all the time through this Torah portion and all through this presentation. There's people that say you shouldn't mention his name. Well, his name is mentioned all over the place, all over. You see, all over the place. Okay. Someone has a question. Let me answer your question. Yes, 2 p.m. my time, absolutely. So I'm Pacific Standard Time at 2:00. And we just, it's not a religious ceremony, but it's just something that, I like to meet with you guys and, in order to keep the mishpat, in order to keep the Moedim the way that he ordered us to. Ezra, the Torah teacher, they were studying, they found that Yah said, this is what's prescribed. And they did what they could, they did. And a matter of fact, at that time, they didn't have a high priest. And at that time, they didn't have a temple. They had a courtyard, but they didn't have a temple. They were having some difficulties, just like you and I. So, we're commissioned to do what he's asked us to do. So I'll meet with you tomorrow at 2:00 my time, and maybe for 30 minutes or so, just to kind of make sure we keep what he says. How's that sound?
Great.
If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. Azania, I see your hand up. Yes, Akoti.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. I just didn't have can I be heard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make a comment about something you said when you were opening up about teaching Torah and being our brother. And I just wanted to say, it's about this week's Torah portion and how beautiful it was, just like reading the part where the Most High was saying that he was going to avenge his people. and just the epiphanies you get from Torah and studying Torah and understanding that the avenging of his people is just not about like in Joel where he talks about because they stole his things and sold his people, but it has a lot to do with our people being in the prison houses of idolatry and being stuck there, and just how beautiful the wisdom of Torah is, because when I understood that, it helped me like kind of stay out of the banter that people get into about idolatry and being mad at people because they're still stuck in idolatry, because the Most High says he's going to avenge it. He's going to take those yokes off. He's going to take Lucifer's burdens off of us. And I just want to say how beautiful and wondrous the wisdom of Torah is. And that there's so many Torah teachers out here, or people that claim that they're teaching Torah. Elder Bill and I are waking, I guess, almost a full cycle now, going on 7 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people saying, come now, we teach Torah, and they teach everything really but Torah. They spend a lot of time in the writings and in the prophets, and then ultimately they get to defending their own hypothesis. And so I just want to thank you for teaching Torah. Torah to me is like a prayer plant. And I don't know if you ever see a prayer plant, but in the right light, it really opens up beautifully, and I think that's the reason why the Most High tells us to meditate on it and to discuss it and things like that. And so it's just wonderful, and it brings so much after these classes, and when you're in prayer and later on, and we're so blessed. We're so blessed to be here. We're so blessed that we're not in the prison houses where so many of our brothers and sisters are. I think that sometimes we really just don't know how blessed we are. And so, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, hallelujah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you to him. It's thank you for those remarks. Yeah, he is. He's going to avenge for what has happened. I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened to us as a people, and he says, you're going to see my hand. So I don't want anyone to get discouraged. I'm not telling you that he hasn't hidden his face from us because he doesn't want to have anything to do with us, because that's not true. What it is that you got to understand what he's saying by my face is hidden from you. That's what you have to understand. He's talking to us as a nation. And sometimes we get that confused. Like when, we want him to do something for us that we don't want him to do for anybody else. Why are we okay with, so he ain't hit his face for me, but yet hit the rest of Israel? What about the rest of Israel? What about our brothers and sisters? What about them? What about their lives? And what about what he's doing for them? We're all going through something, all of us, and we're going to go through more. But I like what you said about your Torah cycle. At the end of your cycle, you guys, you're supposed to have something to look back on and be like, oh, this is what I've learned. You got to have some fruits, something to harvest. You can't come to God empty-handed. So now you and I have something to give to him. I've been in the Torah. I've been learning. I've committed myself to the work, and that's the work of your hands. Pick the Torah up. Pick this up, man. This is where it's at. Put your work into here. And then ultimately you're working on your mind. Work on your mind and give Yah those things. And then, you'll have something to be proud of and something to show him. You don't want your life to end and all you've done is just been somebody just not learning anything. You're just going along. You're like the guy or the individual that's in Deuteronomy 29 said, I'm going to be okay. I'm along with everybody else, so I'll be fine. Yah says, no, you're not. I'll destroy you. You got to be in this to be in it. You have to be in it to do work. So that's what it is. That's the type of people that we are. as a people that have studied and a people of learning. That's why Yah has put it in our Torah portion to what? To hear, to learn, to fear, and to do. Yes, Akoti Rivkwa.
Hallelujah. Shabbat shalom.
Hallelujah. Shalom.
I was just thinking about the Torah and how these Moedims have and how since we've been keeping them have the Torah is really truly our instructions or our light to get back to our culture, and it's not a religion. And the more we keep the Torah, the further we get away from religious acts. So when we come to the Sukkot, you see different people with tents, and then you see people with sukkahs, and you see all different types of expressions of this feast, because we're not in the land. But I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think on this week we can share with each other how we chose to act this out, because it is a physical thing. So we do everything we do. It's not out of works or faith or sitting back dreaming. We actually get up and do it. So It's going to be interesting to see how Israel, displays how they proclaim this feast. So
Wow.
I'm going to share how I'm going to do it, and so maybe next week or this week we can share how we do it as well. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Thank you for that. Those remarks were beautiful because it added something that I didn't mention. Thank you for that. It's a matter of expression, right? So this is how we express ourselves, right? In our exile. You're not doing anything wrong by putting up a tent. You're not doing anything wrong. Listen, you need to buy whatever you want to buy and eat and enjoy yourself. You have wine, drink your wine. You have some strong drink, get your strong drink. Enjoy yourselves for what Yah has done. If you have an opportunity to hear even the Torah, that's enough to celebrate. So I like the word that you use, Rivka, about expression. It's how we express ourselves. Because Yah knows that you and I are bearing the burden of reproach. So he's not angry for you and I for the things that we're doing. He's not. So don't take this as religious, like, well, okay, well, you know what? We don't have the sukkahs, so we can't put up a tent. No. That's not. We got to look at the essence of it, what he's saying. Matter of fact, she said the word proclaim, and that's exactly what this is. This is a proclamation. I don't care if we get on here on tomorrow at 2:00 and I blow the shofar. That's a proclamation. All you are is giving a witness. You're being a witness to it. So testify to that and testify to the goodness of Yah, in spite of us knowing that at this moment we're not restored. But that's okay, because you and I are going to be restored. So don't be down on yourself. Not on. This whole week is a time of celebration and joyous occasion. So thank you for that, Rivka. That was great. Expression. That's a great word for us to remember, to learn how to express ourselves on this coming Sukkot. Hallelujah. Anyone else? Kel, what's up, man? Shabbat shalom.
Hey, David, Shabbat shalom to you and everybody.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you a quick question because, like you say, like we are in exile, but we try to do as much as we can to follow the Torah.
Yes.
I know of some people that actually try to keep the peace offerings, like they burn the, they try to burn the peace offerings and the sin offerings. And I just wanted to see like what your thoughts are on that. Is that right or wrong to do?
It's wrong because it's not being officiated by a Kohanim. That's what makes it wrong. And it's because it's not where Yah has placed his name. So there's two things off the top. It's not officiated by those who Yah says can do the offerings, because Israel was not allowed to make any offerings outside of giving it to the Kohanim. Second, whenever those altars are supposed to be, it's supposed to be where his name has been declared, right? And that he put his name there. So that place is not where his name is. The second. Third, we are in exile. And so an exilic, he says in the book of Hosea, you can look at it. He said that you're going to be without a sacrifice. You're going to be without these things. So those are absolutely contrary to what he said. That's going beyond your scope. Yeah, there is no goats and no rams and none of those types of things. We're not authorized to do that. Matter of fact, what we read in Hosea today says that you bring me the fruit of your lips. Bring me the young bulls of your lips. not the fruit of your lips, the bulls. I need those bulls from your lips. And the reason why he used bulls there is simply because with a bull, you have to take it from conception of birth and you have to raise it. So it takes time and they have to come to a certain time of maturity. So Yah is saying, be mature in your words. Be careful when you bring these words to me. Make sure they're the right words. Make sure that, just like you would raise a calf up and you make sure it's the right, it's not maimed or anything like that. Make sure that these things are right. So it's wrong what they're doing. That's absolutely wrong. Yah has not sanctioned that and he hasn't authorized that. And they will get in trouble for that. Yeah, because they're lighting a strange fire. That fire ain't been from his fire. The fire that was on the altar was a fire he lit. I hope you hear what I just told you. And the reason why he says to put the wood in that fire continually is always supposed to be burning because that's the fire that he lit. They didn't light that fire. He lit that fire. Go ahead, Riqua. Hope I answered you.
Also, the animals may not be clean. But from here, they could be being fed anything. They could have blemishes. They don't know. We don't know because the animals that we gave as a sacrifice came from the land.
Yeah, they haven't been sanctioned. Yeah, they haven't been sanctioned. So unfortunately, they're in some trouble. Yah says, anybody put their hand to this work, I'm killing them. So you may want to tell them. Read Numbers, chapter number 3. It tell you, I'll kill you. You put anybody does anything that's not that you don't have no responsibility, put your hand to this work, I'm killing you. So let them know you want to put your life on the line. A matter of fact, within the covenant, he tells you that don't misrepresent who I am. So you're thinking I'm going to authorize you to do that? I haven't given you the okay to do that. You gone. Woo. Thank you for the question. Anyone else? And that's with Torah. That's not my opinion. That's what the Torah says. Hey, are they Kohanim?
They are, I would say that they are self-proclaimed.
Okay. They haven't been verified or certified because in all the writings that we have, it says they have to be registered and they have to be verified.
Well, in order to be a Kohanim, isn't it supposed to be you're anointed, right? You're supposed to be.
Yeah, well, you're anointed from that family and you need to be authorized. And you need to be like verified. So these self-proclamations or proclaiming is dangerous. They're in trouble. And that's a lot of, but they're not the only ones. There's a lot of people who are doing the same thing, Kel.
They have to be Levium.
Yeah, they got to be Levium.
Don't they have to be
from that
Levium,
family.
David?
Yeah, they got to be from that family. They got to be from Aaron's line. That's who line they got to be from. They got to be from Aaron's line. And if not Aaron, Zodok, which is Zodok is from Aaron's line. They got to be from Aaron's line because Yah gave it to that family and only that family, nobody else. Anybody else who puts their hands to that work is dead. Period. Yah says, I'm killing you.
Well, I have a question. So if let's just say like if they say that they are, is there any way to prove that you are from that lineage like
No.
in days time?
No, there's no way to prove it. Yah has to prove it. Yah has to bring Israel back and separate them. Matter of fact, here, let me show you to you. And this will verify what I'm saying. That's a great question. And so I don't want to just answer it with, just telling you things. I want you to really know it for yourself, right? To see it. So in the book of Hosea, which is salvation, he says this. Is it chapter 4?
What is being done is total witchcraft, wouldn't you say, David? Because
Yeah.
that's religious.
Wait, I think it's in 4. Let me see. Hold on for a second, Kel. Yeah, what they're doing is it's against him, but he knows how people are, And you know what? And here's the thing. They think because they're doing it that it's going to be okay. Like he's not going to trip. He's not going to say anything. He's just, we're in exile. You can do whatever you want, right? People do what they feel like they could do according to what they believe in their own opinion is right. But even though that's the case, people are doing what they believe is right in their own opinion. It still doesn't change the fact that, it's in chapter number 3. Okay, here you go. Yeah, I was in the right place. He says, for I told her, you are to remain in seclusion for a long time and be mine. You are not to be a prostitute. He's talking about his wife, right? And you are not to be with any other man. I won't come until you have sex with either. For the people of Israel are going into seclusion, are going to be in seclusion for a long time without a king, without a prince, without a sacrifice, without a standing stone, ritual vests, or household gods. Okay, meaning that look, afterwards, after they go through this process, the people of Israel will repent and seek Yahweh their Elohim and Dawid their king. They will come trembling to Yahweh and his goodness in the Akodath Hamayim. That's a prophecy, but he's letting them know that you won't have anyone to officiate anything. There's no ritual vest, there's no sacrifice, there's no altar, there's nothing. There's none of those things. And that's why they're in their exilic space. So Yah said, you can't do anything. You can look at book of Numbers in chapter number, not Numbers, Devarim chapter number 12. You are not to sacrifice to any other place except for the place that Yahweh told you. That's what he says. So if you want to bring them to some truth, right? And because they said, well, that's the prophets. That's easy. That's the prophets. That's just at that in particular time. Well, let's just go to what he said in Deuteronomy chapter number 12. Right? Let's look at it. Okay, here you go. Number 1, it starts off and say, here are the laws and the rulings. Okay, here's the Kukim and the Mishpatim, which are laws and rulings. You are to observe and obey in the land, Yahweh, the Elohim of your ancestors has given you to possess as long as you live on earth. That's number 1. You must destroy all the places where the nations you are dispossessing serve their gods. Okay, so you don't get to serve their gods where they did, whether on high mountains, hills, or under some leafy tree. So break down their altars, smash their standing stone to pieces, burn their sacred poles completely up, and cut down their carved images of their gods. Exterminate their name from that place. But you're not to treat Yahweh your Elohim this way. Rather, you are to come to the place, the Makom, where Yahweh your Elohim will put his name. And he will choose from all the tribes of Israel. And you will seek out that place, okay, where he will live, and go there. You will bring there your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your attempts that you set aside for Yahweh. The offerings that you give, the offerings you have vowed, your voluntary offerings, and the firstborn of your cattle and sheep. See, that's what he says. Listen to this. You will not do things the way we do them here today, where everyone does whatever in his own opinion seems right. You understand? You're not going to do that. So he tells us that in Essay 12. Let me give you one more. 13. Be careful not to offer your burnt offerings just anywhere you see. But do it in the Makom, in the place where Yahweh will choose in one of the tribal territories. There is where you are to offer your burnt offerings and do everything I order you to do. You understand? Okay, so he tells us that. All right, and then okay, there you go. Okay, here it is. He's telling us that there you will offer your burnt offerings, the meat and the blood and the altar of Yahweh your Elohim. The blood of your sacrifices to be poured out on the altar of Yahweh your Elohim, and you will eat the meat. Obey and pay attention to everything I'm ordering and commanding you to do, so that things will go well with you and your descendants after you, as you do what Yahweh sees as good. So if you do something outside of that and you're going somewhere else to do these offerings, here it is. This is the last thing. Everything I'm commanding you, you are to take care to do, obey. Do not add to it and do not subtract from it. There's your answer. They can't get around Deuteronomy chapter number 12. They can't get around it. You understand? So no, they can't do it. Praise be to the living Elohim. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else? Ooh, somebody in trouble. All right, wonderful. Thank everyone for coming on today. I enjoyed your time. Today, I will be hosting my final. I don't know if it's my final. We're in the last chapter of our book, in chapter number 16 of our Hebrew class. So if you'd like to attend, you can. Starting, hopefully, I don't know if it's this week or next week, but I'll be starting a new class, and that's on the verb series.